it's really important. I think that where, even in terms of the massive drive when it comes to energy security, to look at renewable energy.
That's number one. Energy, number
Yes,
one.
yes, energy for sure. But there's a massive push on terms of renewable energies.
When we have so much oil in the continent, and if we focus on using what we have,
Yeah,
the technologies are very mature, and it will be a lot easier to implement with less experimentation.
yeah,
Rather, what I've talked to a lot of young people, and everybody's saying renewable, renewable, renewable. See, I to talk to one of my last few guests. I asked him, what countries in the developed world has actually implemented any of these to a sustainable level? Just name one. He couldn't. Yet, that is what we are pushing in our continent. That will not allow us to catch up.
yeah.
We will now become the experimental table for what has not worked in more developed places.
Yeah, and I think that yeah, there is a lot of this copy paste, right? And I think that this comes about with a maybe a different discussion that needs to be had,
Yeah.
which is this thinking. A lot of African countries, right? We see, um, you know, all the African leaders went to this US Africa Business Summit last year. There's the um, Great Britain, Africa, all these like Western countries, Africa summits where they kind of bring all these leaders, and African leaders are essentially looking for private capital, to unlock private capital that can come and invest into their respective countries. And that's great. But the problem that I'm seeing is that increasingly the ones with the private capital come with a lot of conditionalities that are not in line with the needs of Africa or the realities of Africa.
Hmm.
So right now, there is a, a lot of private capital that is focused for renewable energy, clean energy, technology, uh, and all that. But what about the rest?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe it's time for African countries to maybe focus more on the South-South cooperation. I think for a very long time, people were laughing at this. Some people say like, what can another poor country do for me? So we need to go back to the US, to France, to all these countries because they're rich and they have money, and you can deal with them. But are they really cognizant, or are they really aware of the realities? I think other southern countries, like if you look at India, if you definitely look at China, although China is definitely not poor, by the way, but
not
it's
anymore.
not anymore for sure. But and neither is India, at least when you compare to
Most of Africa, yes.
most of Africa, yes, but just those southern south to south corporations, I think that the private capital that comes from these countries, first of all, has less conditionalities. There's none of this kind of moral high ground of how, you know, you need to look into human rights and you need to, not that I'm saying that human rights is not
I get you. Don't worry.
but it's
You
a
don't need
problem.
to explain those things to me. I
Yes,
get you.
it's a problem when private capital that is needed to develop schools, to develop, you know, infrastructure, you know, energy and all these healthcare, etc., is kind of dangled, and you know, it's like you have to kind of jump through hoops in order to actually get, you know, to actually get that. And a lot of it is, you know, it's very subjective as well. So yeah, we kind of went a little bit, or I
No,
went a
see,
little bit on.
I love it. See, I love this. See, uh, that's why I don't like to ask very specific questions. Okay. See, I like to just put something on the table and just let the knife cut the carve the meat any way you want to, you know. See,
Yeah.
see what you just talked about is very important. Uh, Now, I will say this. We as Africans can learn from every area, every part of the continent. But we need to be cognizant of the level of evolution of every region we are trying to learn from.
Yeah.
Okay. So to me, China, India in particular, to me, India is still very poor. Okay. The whole sub-region is still very, very poor. Okay. But they are closest to Africa. Okay. In the way the everyday Indian life is very close to Africa. Okay. And the technologies we think we want to get from the West, India has a lot of it. In fact, they are a big partner in that drive for the whole world. Okay. So we can learn a lot of things from India. We can learn a lot of things from China.